Okay, so brokerage accounts. Let's talk about them because I feel like a lot of us get confused by the term brokerage. What the hell does that mean? In this video, we are going to talk about what they are, the pros and cons, and how I personally use brokerage accounts to fuel my financial goals. So before we get into the video, I want to put a disclaimer out there that I am not a financial advisor. If you want to seek the advice of a financial advisor, you can absolutely do so before you make any big investing decisions, and do your own research. Do your own research, and I hope this video is educational for you. So let's hop into it. Hey guys, it's Justine with Debt Free Millennials, the channel to help you crush your debt and live payment free. Part of my debt-free living is definitely building up cash reserves for different financial goals that I have. So for you, that could be a down payment on a house. That's what I'm personally saving up for. It could be a car purchase. Maybe you want to buy a sailboat. Whatever it may be, you want to start saving money and investing that money. And maybe you're looking at a brokerage account. So I actually got this question from Britt on Instagram. She says, I would love to hear more about brokerage accounts, what to use them for, and the fees involved. And then I also had a similar question from Joan, and they said, what are the positives to a brokerage taxable account? So first, let's get into what exactly a brokerage account is. So a brokerage account is a type of investing account in which you can save for short, midterm, or long-term goals. And you don't necessarily have to use the money for retirement. As I mentioned before, if you have a goal to save for a down payment or a car, or maybe building up funds for a wedding, or expenses for a future kid, you can absolutely use a brokerage account to build up that savings. Now, in a brokerage account, you will be investing in different assets, such as bonds, stocks, or mutual funds, or index funds, and you're going to be using after-tax dollars to fuel that brokerage account. Now, the biggest pro to a brokerage account is that you can use the money for any goal that you want, and you can withdraw that money at any time. You also don't have to wait until retirement to use this money. So you can invest in a few years, and then after a few years, you can take the money out and do with it what you want. Now, the biggest con to the brokerage account is that any money that you earn or gain inside of this brokerage account will be taxed, and that tax is broken down into two different categories. That includes short-term capital gains tax or long-term capital gains tax. So this tax occurs if you were to sell any of your investments inside of that brokerage account for a gain, meaning you are selling it for more than what you initially purchased and invested it in, then that difference is going to be taxed. Short-term capital gains tax goes into effect if you sell one of those capital assets, the stocks, the bonds, the mutual funds, the index funds, or ETF. If you sell any of those in 1 year or less, then you're subject to short-term capital gains. If it's more than a year, then you're subject to long-term capital gains tax. Now, again, I'm not a financial advisor, but I did find a really great article on Investopedia that breaks down long-term and short-term capital gains, and they actually have a really nice chart to show you how you are taxed and what tax rate you would fall under based upon your filing status, and then how much you earn in income for that year. So there's going to be a difference between long-term capital gains, and you can see if you were single, and I'm guessing most of you are going to fall within the 15% tax rate. If you make between this $39,376 up to $434,000, then you're going to be subject to that 15% tax rate if you sell off those investments after a year. That's considered long term. Now, if it's short term, then you're going to go down into the short-term capital gains tax bracket and figure that out. And you can see there's a big difference. It's important to note in this is that you are only taxed on the gains inside of your brokerage account, not on the initial money that you put in to purchase your initial investments. So the money that you're using from your checking account or wherever goes into your brokerage account, that is not taxed extra in addition. The only thing that is taxed is the gains that you would earn on that investment. Okay, so we also want to know what kind of fees are involved with a brokerage account. And this really depends on who you end up opening the brokerage account firm with. Now, if you guys remember last year, I did a whole $1,000 experiment with Betterment. I actually did open up a general investing brokerage account with Betterment, and they do have an annual fee of 0.25%. And so that would be a fee on top of whatever the expense ratios are for the stocks or mutual funds or index funds that I purchased inside of Betterment. But I also have a very large brokerage account with Vanguard. Now I use my brokerage account to invest in primarily bond index funds, and then I also have stock index funds, and I'm using that money to build a down payment nest egg. So inside of Vanguard, each index fund is going to have an expense ratio, and that expense ratio just means all of the associated fees it takes to manage that particular fund. Now, what I love about Vanguard is it has the lowest expense ratio of any funds out there. Try to beat Vanguard. So here's what I mean. I'm invested in the Vanguard Total Bond Market Index Fund, and the expense ratio is 0.05% annually. So that is how much I pay in 1 year on the money that I have invested in that particular fund. I also have another fund that I'm invested in, the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, and that expense ratio is 0.04% annually. With Vanguard brokerage accounts, there's no account minimum to open, there's no trading fees, so if you want to keep buying funds on a consistent basis, they don't charge extra for that, which I love. One thing that I did find with the brokerage account on Vanguard is they will assess a $20 annual fee if your account balance in that brokerage account is less than $10,000. However, if I'm reading this correctly on their website, Vanguard says they'll eliminate that fee if you sign up for e-delivery to accept all of your statements and paperwork electronically online. So I don't see where you could lose with this. This is a great tool and platform to use if you want to open up a brokerage account. I really love using Vanguard. Okay, now to demonstrate that capital gains tax that I was telling you about inside the brokerage account, I wanted to show you a snapshot from one of my statements on my brokerage account. So I'm invested in about 84% bonds and 16% stocks. I'm choosing to keep this conservative because I want the money pretty soon, like within a year or two. And I've had this brokerage account open since 2016. So I'm keeping it very conservative. If you look down at the bottom where it says investment return, since 2017, I have earned $5,688. And that's how much money I've earned by investing my brokerage account with the Vanguard Total Bond Index Fund and the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. So that is the amount of money that I will pay taxes on, not the full $48,000 that you see up at the top. Okay, so you're going to see the most benefit with brokerage accounts if you keep the money in there for at least a year. So let's think at least a year, if not longer. So 2 to 10 years, let's call it, is how you'll want to use your brokerage account for. So if you have a financial goal that you want to hit within the next 2 to 10 years, a brokerage account is a great tool. Now, if you want to go longer, you absolutely can. You can keep money in your brokerage account forever as long as you're finding it beneficial to your financial goals and you're using it as a wise investment tool. So I'd love to know in the comments below, do you have a brokerage account and what are you using it for? I personally use mine to grow my down payment fund, and that has helped Kyle and I earn more than $112,000 combined between our brokerage account and then our high yield savings account. We split it pretty 50-50, and I have to tell you, it's been a great asset for us. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it and you want to see more content like this, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys in another video.